keeping stuff. All right, go ahead and just start to roll through the shoulders. So we'll be working on the low back quite a bit for this practice this morning and doing a little bit of core strengthening. Nice big shoulder rolls. And then once you've gone maybe 8 or 10 times in one direction, you can go ahead and switch directions, rolling the other way. Really start to warm up the shoulder muscles and the neck. And then we'll go ahead and drop the chin to the chest. And we'll start to feel the heaviness of the head. And connecting the sits bones back to the ground. Maybe even relaxing the inner thighs a little bit so that you have the low half of the body well anchored down. And we'll twist to the right. Nice, slow, soft twist. And then start to reach the left arm up behind you and look up. We're twisting, looking behind us, and then on your next inhale, we're going to move back, twisting to the right, and exhale, open up, reach up to the left, inhaling and exhaling, rolling through the arm so the palm is going to face down when you're twisting to the right and open as you twist to the left. And following the fingertips with your gaze. Get some movement in the spine and through the shoulders as well. Okay, 3 or 4 more. And then we'll place the left hand on the right knee and look back towards the left and just drop the head back and forth a couple of times. Start pumping through that nice big lymphatic system in the neck, as well as getting a little bit of a twist in the abdomen. Couple more. And then we'll follow the gaze, moving off to your left, nice soft twist, and start to roll through that shoulder, opening and twisting. Gazing at the fingertips, going maybe a little bit more quickly or a little bit more slowly than I am. Go for at least 3 to 5 more of these reaches. And maybe the next time or after that, you start to move all the way into the twist. And we'll look forward and drop the head back and forth a few times. Pumping through the neck. And after 1 or 2 more, just let the torso come back to center. Drop the chin to the chest. We'll interlace the fingers behind the skull using the weight of the elbows to drop the head down. Inhale, heel open, and exhale, fold. We'll work from the neck first, trying to keep the sits bones and the rest of the spine relatively quiet as we're just nodding the head. Feel free to have the eyes closed, or you could follow in a line looking up and then down to the ground. Okay. After we start to warm the neck and the shoulders, we'll let the chin back down to the chest. Just go ahead and take the hands to the knees. And rather than a full roll forward on the sits bones, we'll keep the sits bones relatively well planted and just squeeze the shoulder blades together and then press. So we're just moving through the upper portion of the body as much as possible. Inevitably, the low back and the sits bones will move slightly, but we're trying to just isolate the middle of the back. It can feel kind of funky at first because it's a really inflexible part of the spine. Keep going. Drawing the chest forward through the gate of the arms, like you just had a little pulley right in the middle of the chest here, and then right just in the middle behind the back, between the shoulder blades. Okay. Then after this, we'll pause in the middle, plant the right hand and sweep up and off to the side. And then go and take that top hand and we're going to do a little massage in the ribs as you pulse back and forth to massage the muscles, those intercostal muscles, the muscles between the ribs, as we start to get a little bit more space for the lungs. And of course, when you find one of those spots that feels particularly tense, just stay there for a minute. You can go all the way up into the armpit. A little bit longer, a few more times. And then we're going to do a little breath awareness. So tick yourself or tick-tock yourself back to center. And just take a couple of deep breaths into that side of the body that you're massaging. Seeing if you can get a little bit more space for that lung to expand. Connecting with the sensations of the breath. And then we'll start on the second side. Plant the right hand, sweep off to the side, nice big stretch, and then begin to massage. It's kind of like you're pinching. Don't be afraid to really get in there. You find a nice spot, stay with that. And of course, this side of the body will have a different experience. Like my tension is a little bit higher up on this side than the other side. Again, all the way around the back to the front. Keep going. You feel about even. And then we'll again pause and take a few deep breaths into that side body. Go ahead and unlace the legs so that you're not in a hyper wide leg, but just the legs a little bit further apart. And then we're going to crawl the chest forward. Just come forward as far as you're starting to feel the stretch in the back of the legs and maybe the groin. And rather than curling forward, it's pretty easy to just kind of slump forward. See if you can reach with the chest. So you're creating a flat back. And your flat back might be up here, and that's just fine. Stay there. Or you're starting to crawl forward a little bit more. Maybe a little bit further. Dropping the chest down, reaching through the crown of the head. So hopefully getting to a spot where you're beginning to feel the low back stretching out, getting some more space as we work down the spine. And once you've gotten to that spot where you're feeling the stretch at the low back, go ahead and place the right hand in the middle of the body. You're going to take the left arm out to the side and then palm facing down, thread underneath. So you've got a little twist in the torso and you're just going to drop the head down. You might not feel much of anything in this twist, and that's okay. We'll stay here for another 5 breaths. So you may choose to crawl forward a little bit more, but we're not looking for an intense sensation. One more inhale and exhale. And then unwind yourself. And we'll just switch sides. Reaching and threading. Coming only as far forward as you're feeling a little slight stretch. Two more breaths. And unlace the arms, walk yourself back. So now that we've gone through most of the spine, we're going to cat-cow again. And up to you, you could have the legs crossed, you could bring the soles of the feet together, knees apart, whatever works best for you. Now we're trying to move the low back so that we'll come forward, so the sits bone peels up a little bit, and press back, waving through the whole spine. So whatever leg arrangement works best for you, to start to move, and go ahead and roll. Bring the chest forward and back. Start to find a nice rhythm here where you're matching your full inhale and exhale. So you could close the eyes and you could go a little bit more slowly or more quickly. But as you can see, I'm really traveling forward and back with lots of motion and movement along the spine. Go for about 3 or 4 more. And then we'll just close the eyes. Let the body be still. Feeling a heaviness in the sits bones, the lightness through the crown of the head. Just allowing those motions in the spine to settle in for a moment before we move on. When you're ready, we'll slide forward to your all fours. Blocks out of the way for the moment. We'll take the knees a little bit further back and just start to draw big circles with the hips in one direction. So your head is just dripping off of the spine. One of my knees is really crunching. See how big you can make these circles? So we're really coming outside the plane of the mat. And then switch directions. One or two more of your circles here. And we'll come to a neutral spine, flat back. Go ahead and step the right foot back. You'll shift your weight back and forth a couple of times. And pressing into the top of the left foot, raise that right leg up. With the foot flexed, heel towards the hip. We're going to draw big circles in one direction. And switch directions. Pause. From here, we're going to inhale and exhale, curl the nose up to the knee and the knee to the nose, and then inhale, lift. Exhale, curl. Inhale, lift. So we're cat-cowing the spine. Maybe you want a little bit more space for the chest, so you'll take the hands wider. Last round here. And then just go ahead and drop that right knee back down. We'll take the big toes to touch. Send the hips back. Maybe even make a pillow for the forehead. Drop down into a child's pose. Another breath. Begin to make your way back to your all fours. Taking the hands as wide as you need to, knees as wide as you need to as you step the left foot back, shift your weight back and forth. Pressing into the top of the right foot, lift the left leg, heel to the hip, draw some big circles. Trying to get lots of motion in the sacrum. Switch directions. And then inhaling, lift, exhale, curl it. Keep that flex in the foot. So we're firing those muscles. Three more. And then go ahead and drop that left knee down, big toes come to touch. Send the hips back, child's pose. 5 breaths here. Feel free to wiggle the hips, walk the hands to one side, take the arms, whatever you'd like to do. Go ahead and bring the hands back, shifting back to all fours. So if you have your blocks, we're going to take one block off to your right side. And then the second block, you're going to place at the low back. A little bit of a balance here. And we're going to work on this balance by pressing into the floor, lifting up the right leg and taking the knee off to the side. So I've not brought my block back enough. Bring your second block close to the right knee. We're gonna come off to the side, and then we're gonna tap the knee to the block and lift up. Trying to keep the secondary block on the sacrum. If this is hard, it's supposed to be. Going for 10 of these taps. And then after this 10th tap, bring the right knee up, and then we're gonna slide the right knee forward. Remove the block from the low back. Heel toe the right foot off to the side and drop the hips back so that you're in your pinwheel pose. So this modified pigeon pose. And then we'll work through the opposite hip. So right knee comes forward. Slide the right knee forward. Heel toes, you drop the hips back down to the floor. And we're just rocking back and forth. Hopefully feeling a little bit of a stretch. That muscle we were just using, your piriformis back there. Getting a little bit of stretch and more mobility in the low back. Don't worry, we're only doing one round of those on each side. Go ahead and plant the hands, slide back to your all fours. Setting up for the second side. Block on its medium height to the outside of the left knee. Second block is going to place at the sacrum. So we're lifting the navel, pressing into the ground. Flex the left heel, lift it up, turn the knee out to the side, and we're tap and lift. You could be feeling this in your core, in your hip, the outside of the hip. Trying to think of all the places I'm feeling it. 8, 9. Last one. And then we'll bring that left knee forward. Can remove the block from the low back. Slide the foot around and drop back down to pinwheel on the second side. So the purpose of that block, as we start to roll through here, purpose of the block on the sacrum was just to give a little bit of feedback about keeping the hips relatively square and just using our piriformis and those smaller hip rotating muscles. So could you do it without the block on the back? Absolutely. You could do it without any blocks. And once we've rocked back and forth 1 or 2 more times, this transition takes a little while. We'll rock back forward to your all fours. From here, we're going to lie on the belly. So that should feel pretty good after this work all across the low back. And you can drop the head down, take the feet as wide as you like for just a little bit of belly down rest. Coming back to diaphragmatic breathing. As you inhale, press the belly into the floor. And exhale, soften. And if you'd like to, if you enjoy the little bit of pressure on the belly, making fists, sticking those fists up onto the stomach. And one nice thing about using your fists and replacing them, I guess you can kind of see it right on the inside. So here's my belly button right here and little pouchy area next to the hip point. And the nice thing about that is that when you're doing this and doing the diaphragmatic rest, you're actually giving your psoas a little massage, which can be a source of tension It causes tension in the low back. So we'll stay for another 4 or 5 breaths here, either with or without the fists in the belly. Two more inhales and exhales, deep breath. And then go ahead, if the hands are underneath, remove the hands. We'll slide the forearms out and then take the arms wide as we start to work in the upper back again. We're gonna point the toes and hug all the muscles to the bone, so you're really engaging in the whole leg. Forehead comes down. Tent the fingertips, so you've got your little elbows up. And we'll inhale, nice and slowly lift the chest, peel the chest up. Again, we're engaging in the legs here. Exhale, come down. Inhale up and exhale down. Pressing the tops of the feet into the floor. The low half of the body, steady and stable. And we're just moving through the upper portion of the body. So you're only coming up so far that you feel like you can keep your deep breaths. Keep going. And there should not be any pinching, pulling, or pain in the low back. If there is, just make your rises a little bit lower. Three more. Still hugging the muscles to the bone in the legs. And after this last one, we'll just bring the arms down. Rock through the head. Maybe wiggle the tailbone or bend the knees and windshield for the legs, whatever feels nice for your low back. Do a couple more things here. We're going to lift up, slide the right forearm underneath the chest. So you're pressing to your highest height. And then take the left hand and you're going to, and I'll just do it the opposite way so you can see, you're going to crawl the fingertips around so you're finding a twist. Not so much that the hip point is coming up. So again, you might be here, but we want to hug the muscles to the bone in the leg, lift the chest, and start to twist, looking towards the heel behind you. Another inhale and exhale. And unwind yourself back to forehead down, let the low back rest. Second side, slide that left forearm so you're lifting the chest. Hug the muscles to the bones in the legs. And then twist to your second side. One more breath and then come on down. Relax the low back. Relax the forehead. Wiggle if you need to. And then we'll create our Sphinx pose, paralleling the forearms, pressing the ground away. We'll work through the neck. Let the head drop down. And then you're tucking the chin up and back. So you may feel this all the way down to the low back. Right now, the legs are rather passive. And we're going to peel the nose up and then tuck the chin and roll down. few more of these neck rolls. And then we'll bring the hands to either side of the sideways, curl the toes under, and start to walk the feet close towards one another. We're gonna press the hips up and back so that the toes are curled under and we're reaching the sits bones back. And you might be up a little bit higher. But we're gonna see if we can get a nice big stretch along the low back. Keep those toes curled under as you slide the hands back. As we start to weight the feet, we'll tuck the tailbone, walk the hands up the thighs. And of course, if you need your block, now's a great time to pop it underneath the sits bones. We're gonna stay here for a moment and cat-cow through the spine. Hands to the thighs, tipping the tailbone back and forth. If you need to take a break, take a little break. But if you can, pressing as much as the weight of your body weight as you can into the soles of the feet. Just 2 or 3 more of these rotations here. And then we'll slide back forward. Flip the feet over. You can give the tops of the feet a little bit of a knock. And then either slide the knees towards the hands or slide the hands back. We're going to sit back on tops of the feet, toes, toenails pressing onto the floor, hands to the hips. And now we're going to draw our big circles. So this should feel pretty good in the low back as we make those circles as big as you can. You can see them really traveling. Of course, if sitting on tops of the feet like this and the knees under is not good for you, then you'll just move to whatever seated position works best so you can get your nice big tushy rolls happening. Couple of options. I think it would be kind of hard to do this on the block. Okay, so once you've gone maybe 4 or 5, maybe more in one direction, go ahead and roll the other way. I am aware that I have more flexible ankles than some folks. So once we've made our circles, maybe 5 at least each direction, we're going to come forward and roll onto our backs. Up. And once you're down, you can wiggle through the hips. Maybe plant the feet and windshield wiper the legs. So get used to being on the back. That might mean that you need to crawl the torso up or move the hips down. And just find this neutral body position for a moment. We're going to work with the right leg first. You have your strap handy. Go ahead and grab it. We'll slide the right heel in, give the right knee a nice big hug. And then take some big circles with the knee in one direction. We've already done this just on our hands and knees. Now we're doing it on the back. Switch directions. Trying to get as much freedom happening in that hip, as much motion as you can. So those circles are really big. We'll hug that right knee back in. We'll take the strap and strap the sole of the foot. We're going to pump the leg up and down. So this is a good time to use some feedback. Rather than trying to get the thigh to touch the torso, we want the hips to remain square. So you could take your thumb and put a little pressure. You can see if I put a little pressure on that femur bone, it's going to wrap the hip down, and I'm creating a 90-degree angle. So we're looking more for a 90-degree angle than for how far you can get the thigh to the chest. And it might take just a couple of times of playing with that pressure of pushing the hip down and away. And it might feel better or easier for you to get that feedback if you slide the left foot in, planting the left foot down, and then slide the leg back out. So take your time to create the 90-degree angle. And if your knee is slightly bent, that's okay. Just begin a little bit of pulsing. And when we use tools like the strap, we want to make sure that we're using it as a guide rather than trying to lock the leg back into place. We're looking to find space between in that ball socket. So pressing away so the femur is reaching up. And it seems like a lot of explanation for a really simple posture. But I just want to make sure that we're getting the best body arrangement for this purpose. Okay, and then we'll stay here and breathe for 5 breaths. We'll take both sides of the strap into the right hand and just let the leg come out to the side a little bit. So not all the way to the floor, just a little bit. You're maintaining the left hip point on the ground. You can even place the left hand on the hip to anchor it down. And then we'll switch, take both sides of the strap in the left hand and bring that leg all the way across the body. If you have a block close, maybe you're landing the leg on top of the block. Okay, keep rolling until you make contact either with the floor and the leg or the block and the leg. And once you're in your twist here, see if you can relax the left side of the body. So kind of let the body start to melt down into the ground. Take another 2 breaths here. And we're going to roll back onto the back. So if it's better for you just to draw the knees together and curl up in a little ball and then roll back, go ahead. Or if it's better for you to unwind the way that you came in, that's fine too. We're going to move directly into figure 4. The left foot's going to plant and that right ankle. And slip your strap off. We'll use it again in a minute. Just take your time here in your figure 4, so it could be a little bit more dynamic. You can roll for that knee, kind of flap the knee around, rock back and forth. Be good. If you like hugging the knee into the chest, the left knee in, go ahead. Just make this your kind of relaxing and so even some circles, whatever works best for you. Let's play around with this to release the low back. Nice. Then we'll unlace and switch sides. Hug the left knee in. Make your big circles. Bring up the low back when you're ready. Switch directions. And then we'll strap the left foot. Again, we're creating a 90-degree angle here. Thumb to the hip crease. Push and extend the leg a couple of times until you've got your 90-degree angle. And keep reaching up with that extension through the femur while both hip points are still pressing onto the floor. And staying here. If you feel the shoulders coming up, just slide the hands lower on your strap. If, of course, you didn't have a strap, you just have the hands interlaced, where you're doing your best to keep that 90-degree angle. 5 breaths. Just notice where you're holding tension that you don't need to, that's not serving you for this particular body arrangement, especially if you find that you're clenching in the glutes. Both sides of the strap will transition to the left hand, and you're opening the legs slightly. Moving the strap to the right hand, go ahead and roll off to your side, keeping the leg extended. And let the right side body just melt down to the floor as we hang out in this twist for a few minutes. Allowing the weight of the body to drop down. You might even need to roll further over. And then your favorite way to get back onto your back as we move into this figure 4, just to release a little bit more rolling back and forth, maybe twists or flapping the knee around or hugging in, any variation, or just playing with some movement here. Seeing where you have not quite gotten in touch with the low back. Anywhere that's still feeling a little tense. And we'll unlace the legs and plant the feet. From here, hug the knees into the chest. We're going to start with a little bit of our core work. And then I like to smush my hands underneath my low back. You may not like to do that. You might like to keep your hands to either side of the hips. And then press the back of the head into the mat. And we'll raise both legs up. We're just going to start with the right leg as you lower and lift the right leg. Drawing a line with the heel. If you can, keep that leg hovering or pushing into the floor. Lots of extension through the soles of the feet. Two more. And we'll pause. You can draw the knees into the chest. Roll through the ankles. Your dog. And second side. Just the left leg. Yeah, buddy. Keep going with the left leg. We're going for about 10. So maybe you're at 7. I had, of course, to move the dog out of the way. And then once you get to your 10 on the left leg, and you can hug the knees into the chest, take a little bit of break. We're going to do both legs. If both legs is not good for you with the legs extended, then you could just have the feet together and tap and lift, or heels together and we'll lower and lift 10 times. And this one is going to put a little bit of strain. If you're getting to a point where you feel like it's pulling on the low back, just bend the knees. So I want to be strengthening the core and the low back and not putting more damage. Squeezing the inner thighs together will be helpful. Pressing the ground away is helpful. Two more. And then after this last one, just let the legs rest. You can slide the hands out from underneath. We'll take a mini break here. Then slide the heels towards the hips. We're going to heel toe the right foot in line with the mat and body and cross the left leg over. Cool. So we have our eagle legs, and totally up to you. If you like having the eagle arms as well, Scotchy. If you like having the eagle arms, go ahead. You can hold on to the shoulders, or you could just extend the arms, whatever works best for you. We're gonna hug and tap the knees and elbows together, and then extend and tap. Behind and in front of you, tap and tap. One for 10. Not my face. And then unwind, take a little break. And then we'll start on the second side. Heel toe the left foot in line with the mat and body. Squeeze the inner thighs. Totally up to you how you'd like to do the arms. as we compress and then extend. Hug and tap. Going for 10, so maybe 5 more. And after this last one, unlace the legs, unlace the arms, and just find a comfortable, neutral body. Maybe slide the heels towards the hips and windshield wiper the knees if your low back is feeling a little tense again. I'll slide the heels towards the hips and roll off to one side. Press yourself up. So we're going to come back to that wide leg forward fold. This is going to be our last thing before resting. So this time, as you find your wide leg forward fold, you're going to move the flesh away from the sits bones. Reach forward. And some of us, our knees naturally pop up. So go ahead and block the knees off with the corners of your blocks. And then fold forward. Just getting the low back, one nice long extension before lying down. And you may choose to, as we walk our hands back up, you may choose to just close the eyes, cross the legs, and stay seated for our about 10 breath transition out of practice, or go ahead and rotate all the way down onto the mat. And just let the body rest as we follow the inhales and exhales. Make yourself comfortable wherever you would like to be. Allow the features of the face to soften. The jaw to come away from the skull, maybe rock through the neck. The eyes close. And we'll follow those inhales and exhales. Just watch the breath travel into the body. And exhaling, watching the breath go back out. See if you can lengthen your exhale. Allow the weight of the body to drop down a little bit more following the next 3 inhales and exhales. And you're more than welcome to stay just as you are for as long as you would like. Or if you would like to transition to the rest of your day, you can come on up. Just roll through the neck and the shoulders, moving to a seat if you'd like to. And we'll close this class together. Go ahead and take a nice big sweep, reach the arms up, and exhale out through the mouth, hands together at heart center. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, lift up and reach. Exhale. Last one, big inhale. Big sigh out of the mouth. Allow the chin to drop towards the chest to thank yourself for coming to a practice this morning. And I thank you for joining.